enrichment opportunities for children of all ages. This funding would not have been possible without the leadership and advocacy of our congressional delegation, specifically our own U.S. Senator Chris Murphy, who has been advocating tirelessly for this important funding. Thank you all for everything you're doing down in Washington to improve our children's education. There's no question that this has been an incredibly challenging year for so many of our students. And that's why the governor and I, our federal delegation, and our education leaders have been focused on identifying innovative ways to provide students, particularly those who were impacted by the pandemic, with unique learning opportunities year-round. This funding allows us to do just that. This funding will be used to expand access to summer camps, childcare centers, and other summer programs so we can ensure that all of our children have the opportunity to succeed and are exposed to learning and enrichment opportunities outside the classroom. This is about creating opportunities that allow our students to have hands-on learning, build connections with older students and teachers, things many of our students were not able to experience while learning remotely during the pandemic. By giving our students an educational summer, we can ensure they're ready for a successful start to the new academic year in the fall. And it is now my honor to introduce United States Senator Chris Murphy, who has made this a priority and made this important funding possible. Good morning, Senator Murphy.
Good morning, Lieutenant Governor. Thank you so much for convening us here. Thanks for your leadership on behalf of kids. Really exciting to be here. I know there's a pretty impressive roster of folks who want to talk about this launch, so I'll be very, very brief. Governor, thank you for your leadership. You and I talked early on about the importance of serving kids 12 months of the year, not just the 9 or 10 months that they're in formal schooling, and your help in trying to craft the language in the American Rescue Plan that targets funding for summer learning is part of what helped get this portion of the bill across the finish line. As Susan mentioned, I was the primary driver of this section of the bill, in part because I'm a parent that's struggling to figure out what my kids are going to do this summer. There's so much uncertainty for parents right now about what programs are going to be open and available, whether or not they're going to be able to afford to send their kids to good quality summer programs, with jobs returning, with workers coming back into an office setting. This summer is a really important time to make sure that parents have a safe place to send their kids. And this funding that is being announced today is going to allow for more kids in Connecticut, especially low-income kids, to be able to have access to quality summer programs. And what I really appreciate is that the team that's designed this program is certainly looking at the issue of learning loss to make sure that kids are going to be able to have some opportunity this summer to start a path back towards catching up on what they've lost in terms of academics. But what we've recognized is that kids this summer need an emotional reset. They need an ability to reconnect with their peers, to get into a space emotionally and socially and psychologically that they're ready to succeed once schools reopen in sort of a quasi-normal setting in the fall. So I think these expansion grants and these innovation grants are not only going to improve the number of kids that have access to summer programs, but be able to help programs reinvent what they offer kids to be able to mix together fun and academically and emotionally rewarding experiences. So really grateful. What you're doing in Connecticut is a model for the rest of the nation. And I think what you're going to see over the course of the next few weeks is a lot of states following Connecticut's lead and planning for the federal dollars to be spent in a thoughtful way to expand the number of kids who have access to great summer programming. So thank you for what you're doing. Thanks for including us all in the launch today.
Thank you so much, Senator Murphy. It's now my pleasure to introduce Senator Richard Blumenthal.
Thanks so much, Susan. Thank you, Governor, for your leadership. Connecticut, once again, is ahead of the curve in not only expanding horizons for children, but doing it in a very fun and engaging way. These summer camps and programs are going to involve students and their parents, whole families, in ways that strengthens the bonds that are so important to students doing productive learning. And I want to pay tribute to the entire delegation who really united behind this program, and most especially the dean of our delegation, Rosa DeLaura, who is in charge of the purse strings as chair of the Appropriations Committee and has been a real innovator in this space. Let's be very blunt. This pandemic has exacted loss and trauma on young people more than any other group. They have seen economic crisis and death in their own families, isolation from their friends, deep hurt and harm in the food lines and other kinds of visible signs of the hardship and heartbreak of this pandemic. And that loss and pain isn't measured by the numbers and the metrics and the statistics. It isn't measured by the infection rates or the hospitalization rates. And so this program really speaks to that pain and loss and trauma that needs to be overcome. And the burden and pain have been spread unevenly. Underserved communities of color have been hit far more deeply. And one of the great points about this program is that it will target those underserved communities of color because they have seen twice the death rates and half the vaccination rates and much more of the isolation and loss that comes from remote learning, which for many of them have been no learning because they haven't been connected or they don't have the means to connect or they simply haven't had the supervision that's necessary. So this program is really equity in action. This program is equity in action led by educators. And I want to just close by saluting the teachers and educators of Connecticut and the country who have led with grace under pressure, real courage, dignity, strength as a model for their teachers and fellow teachers and others all around the country. And a final point, this program is a good short-term fix, but we have to recognize that the achievement gap existed before the pandemic and it's going to exist afterward. School districts in Connecticut and around the country need a permanent, reliable source of funding to close the achievement gaps that exist in our state and everywhere. These achievement gaps impede the achievements of our entire society. And the federal government has to really step up and step forward in a way that provides long-lasting efforts to close those achievement gaps. The pandemic has simply highlighted and aggravated them. And I think we can all be grateful for the governor's leadership in putting Connecticut ahead of the curve, really at the tip of the spear in beginning this longer term effort that's necessary to close achievement gaps that still afflict many, many communities around Connecticut. Thank you.
Senator Blumenthal, thank you so much. And one of our fearless and fierce education leaders who is working to reduce that achievement gap or opportunity gap that you just mentioned, Senator, is our wonderful acting education commissioner, Charlene Russell Tucker, who has been working very hard to put together the guidelines for these critical summer programs. Commissioner Russell Tucker, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor, and good morning to everyone. As so clearly stated by everyone so far this morning, the pandemic continues to be a substantial disruption to our children's learning and also to their interpersonal interactions and social emotional well-being. And so that's why we're encouraged and so thrilled today by new and bold innovative ideas which are providing the ability to grow existing high quality programming in the state. We're very pleased under the governor's leadership that is promoting collaboration across state agencies and partnerships more broadly, that we have the opportunity to continue the state's effort to take forward-thinking actions focused on students' academic and social emotional needs to reduce the opportunity gaps, as you just mentioned, Lieutenant Governor, to accelerate learning, and so important to advance equity. And so this summer learning can occur every day, everywhere. And as the governor has said, as the governor has said, now it's time to be bold, to challenge the current structures we have in place and to stretch our creativity. And this is what these grants will do. They will leverage the assets and strengths that already exist, the programs and the entities throughout Connecticut to provide engaging, hands-on, transformative experiences to ignite students' imagination and reconnect them to the community this summer and beyond. So this approach allows us to create new opportunities to access summer enrichment programming, and as importantly, to build relationship for our students, to build relationship with their peers, and accessing services that address their social, emotional, and their mental health needs going forward this summer. Making transformative investments is critically important. And as Senator just mentioned, to those especially disproportionately impacted by the pandemic, and we'll help them to have a successful transition and better outcomes this fall and beyond. Going back to business as usual is not an option. And we believe that for children, families, and communities across the state, these grants will be a game changer. I also add my thanks to our delegation for all the hard work to make sure funding is available for us. And I know I see Senator McCrory on here as well for state leadership in this space. So thank you all very much. Back to you, Lieutenant Governor.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Russell Tucker, and another of our educational leaders who has been laser focused on making sure that we have high quality, affordable childcare and early childhood learning across our state is our Commissioner Beth Bai. Commissioner Bai, thank you so much for joining us today. All right, if we do not have Commissioner Bai at the moment, we are going to go to Michelle Ducette Cunningham, who is a leader in after-school programs. Michelle, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. For me, as for many others, summer memories of our childhood are some of the very sweetest. Summer's a time to have fun and make friends, explore new interests, to read books just for the fun of it. And many of the memories are around some of the sort of summer programs that this funding is going to provide. As a kid, I walked to the playground at the end of our street where the town Parks and Rec Department organized fun activities and games and gave us snacks and lunch. And I spent all day there every weekday, all summer, almost every summer of my childhood. And some of my happiest memories, even many years later, are related to those summer programs. And I'm so excited that with this new funding, children all across Connecticut are going to have more opportunities to participate in a summer program than ever before. Summer learning programs have a proven record of providing the supports that youth need today, from engaging project-based learning and emotional and social supports to healthy meals, active play, and even for older kids, hands-on job experience. We know from the research that students who regularly attend summer learning programs make significant gains in reading and math. They engage in fun and enriching activities that spark interest in learning. They have access to nutritious meals and enjoy safe outdoor physical activity, which has been so much in short supply this year. And they also get to connect with caring mentors and with their peers and make new friends. And again, for the older kids, sometimes they have opportunities to earn high school or college credits. So it really applies for kids of all ages. And on top of that, it's important to their families too, since these programs provide childcare, which ensures that parents are able to work or take time to look for jobs. We also shouldn't overlook the fact that summer programs provide students with access to nutritious meals, which are especially critical when schools are closed and thousands of Connecticut children from low-income families lose access to the school breakfast, lunch, and after-school meals they receive during the regular school year. Importantly, struggling students and children from families with low income experience the greatest gains from summer learning programs like these. The network stands ready to help programs gear up for summer with additional online training opportunities for staff and technical assistance for designing programs that can have the biggest impact. Having worked at the After School Network for 16 years, I can truly say that this expansion of funding for community programs that support kids and families is a dream come true, especially for the nonprofits that have struggled to keep their doors open this year to be able to serve kids and families. I want to echo what Senator Blumenthal said earlier as a call to do more to close the achievement gap, especially with ways to continue funding programs like these beyond just this one summer. And a big thank you to Senators Blumenthal and Murphy, our entire federal and state delegation, Governor Lamont, Lieutenant Governor Bisowitz, and all of the people who work within those departments, the commissioner and the rest, and all of the hardworking people behind the scenes that work so hard to make this enrichment opportunity a reality for kids. And I think it's going to provide a tremendous service to our state. Thank you so much.
Michelle, thank you so much. We are going to go to Michelle Rolnick, who is the CEO of the Middlesex Ymca in my hometown. Michelle.
Hi, Lieutenant Governor. Thank you. It is such an honor to be here and to talk about summer camp. I have a 30-year career with the YMCA, and during that time, I have had the privilege of running Camp Ingersoll, which serves thousands of children over the years, and generally about 1,500 children a summer. This funding is coming at such a critical time. We know that children need to be engaged in positive activities this summer. We know that they need to re-engage and reconnect. They need to practice those critically important social skills. They need to be outdoors. They need to be in hands-on learning. They need to be around positive role models. And camps offer all of that. I can tell you from my many years in serving thousands of children that the benefit of camp is incredible. My children benefited greatly from going to Camp Ingersoll, and all children should have that opportunity. And I think that this funding, along with other funding that's available, gives us the opportunity to make sure that every child in Connecticut has a summer experience, right? Whether it's through the Ys, which we are looking to expand and to serve as many children as we can across the state. We have been having many conversations as an alliance of how we do that safely, how we do that and reach those children that are often underserved in our communities, or other community-based organizations who are out there ready to serve children in many varieties, right? Through the Boys and Girls Clubs and through Park and Recs and through church-based programs and school-based programs. There are lots of options for parents. And what we want parents to have is options. We want them to know that there is a place for their child that will meet their child's needs this summer. I always say camp is the secret sauce of youth development, and I truly, truly believe that. I think that camp is magical. I think that a positive camp experience gives children hands-on learning opportunities. It gives them STEAM opportunities. It gives them physical play. It gives them skill-based challenges. Watching a child climb a climbing wall and jump off a leap of faith, or learn how to swim, or discover that they can go kayaking. Those are magical experiences, and they should be for all children, regardless of their economic situation. And I think that this funding is going to really help children experience something and some joy, because what we know, those of us who have been working with children through this pandemic and with families, is that children need joy this summer. They need to put their tablets down and they need to have fun and they need to heal from this pandemic. And so I can tell you that the Ys are ready to embrace this opportunity and serve as many children across the state as we can. And we are just so grateful for Senator Murphy and this funding, and the governor really considering how important summer camp and summer experiences are going to be for children. So thank you for allowing me to talk about this. Thank you.
Michelle, thank you so much. And I learned how to swim at Camp Ingersoll. So you do a great job. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our congressman from the 1st District, Representative John Larson. Congressman, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you, Lieutenant Governor. And let me give kudos, of course, to the governor as well. This kind of legislation doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens because of leadership. A number of you have already mentioned, but it bears repeating. First and foremost, you have to commend Senator Murphy for early on setting the appropriate tone. But I also want to recognize Johanna Hayes and Joe Courtney, who both serve on the Ed and Labor committees themselves, and Jim Himes, who you'll be hearing from, and the aforementioned Rosa DeLauro, the dean of the delegation, worked 18 years to finally get a bill through the Ways and Means Committee for a child tax credit. And as both Michelles mentioned earlier, to know that this money is coming to the state and is going to go in the right direction. These gaps, as Senator Blumenthal said, existed prior to COVID, but COVID has turned everything upside down. And now is the time for coordinated, focused leadership. And that's what Governor Lamont has done. Senator McCrory is on this. We represent the poorest zip code in Connecticut, in the 06120. And we want to make sure that especially, and Susan, you and Dick and I were all there when we embraced Ed Ziegler's schools as a family resource. And I think what COVID has done is examine that. And so not only summer learning, but as we look at the utilization of our buildings and the people that need childcare and the ensuing tax credits that are coming out of the American Rescue Plan are going to continue to be vitally important. But it happens at the top. And Governor, we can't thank you enough for your leadership and consistently bringing us all together. And I think that the ideas that are coming forward, this is where the real work begins. I believe it's on May the 10th, money will start going out. And we've got to make sure that we're taking full advantage of that in educating the people who will ultimately receive them. I'm honored to be part of this press conference. And Governor, again, thank you for your leadership. We deeply appreciate it and count on our continued support to get this message out.
Congressman, thank you so much. We are informed that Congressman Himes could not join us because he has other business at the Capitol, but we so appreciate his support along with Johanna Hayes's and Joe Courtney's. So I'm now going to turn to Senator McCrory, who in his professional life and in his legislative life is a leading advocate for education. Senator McCrory, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. I didn't have any planned comments because I didn't know we were having this morning, but I want to thank our leaders, our congressional leaders, for the work they've done to make sure this funding comes to the state of Connecticut. I also want to thank the governor and our commissioner for understanding the need of this. I want to add my 2 cents is I will hope that, Senator Blumenthal mentioned that this is an opportunity where we can address the achievement gap. But I want to be clear, this is not an achievement issue. This is an opportunity issue. And these dollars we can use to provide these students not only with academic help, but enrichment help. And what I mean by enrichment, provide them things that they would never get in their school during regular school day. Opportunities to leave their environments, their neighborhoods, to go experience learning at other locations, i.e. a theater, a museum, places where they normally won't get. Those are the experiences that I received being educated in an urban community in North Hartford in that 06102, 06112 area code. Those are the things, that's the type of education that propelled me to know that I can do better, I can see better. If I see better, I can do better. If I have the opportunity, I can do better. So we have to get away from what we traditionally do during summer, which is just putting kids back into school and providing them some more of what they've got during the regular school year, but making it enriching, making it different, making it doing something that we don't normally do. That's the challenge we have in Connecticut, getting our own way and exploring new opportunities. And this is an opportunity right now to use these resources to provide that for those children, especially those children in marginalized communities that did not and do not have the support that we traditionally get. So that's all I wanted to add. I will be reaching out to the commissioner because I know she means well, and I know she's going to make sure these things are done differently. She knows what's going on in Connecticut. I know what's going on in Connecticut, and people on the ground know what's going on in Connecticut. And those are the people who know how to make change. So thank you. And thanks for the opportunity.
Senator McCrory, thank you so much. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our governor, Ned Lamont, who from the beginning of the pandemic has been working so hard to make sure that our students have every opportunity to thrive, especially in these challenging times. Governor Lamont.
Hey, good morning, Susan, and good morning, everybody. Let me just start with a shout out to our amazing congressional delegation for making this possible. It was either Dick Blumenthal or Chris Murphy who were the decisive vote, because it was a 50-50 tie that wouldn't have happened unless one of them stood up and made a big difference. It tells you that votes really matter, don't they? And it was not as close there in the House, thanks to John Larson, who's the big dog on Ways and Means. He was able to get some strong support there, along with Rosa DeLauro and the rest of our delegation. And we're going to make sure this money makes a real difference for these kids. Look, it's been a tough year for our kids. It's been a tough year for COVID. Doug McCrory knows better than anybody else. George Floyd, the trauma our kids have gone through, especially, children of color. And we got to make sure that now we begin the transformation and make a difference in their lives. And, as Michelle said, looking back in life, I remember my summers really well. I remember the friendships I made and some of the things I learned about myself. I don't remember quite as much about my sophomore year Latin class. So I appreciate what a summer program can mean for people, especially in this year. So we're going out. We've got a new door knocking campaign. It started with GOTV, get out the vaccine, doing everything we could to make sure that people got vaccinated. A lot of hesitancy about going back to school if they weren't vaccinated, if they had a parent or grandparent in the house. And now we're going door to door again in LEAP program, going through 06102 and communities, telling these young people and their parents, we got 2 months left of school, come on back. And by the way, we have an amazing summer learning camp, and it's going to be available to you free of charge, thanks to strong federal support. And I want you to take advantage of this. As you've heard, it's going to be there to make up for some learning loss and help people get ready to learn again in the fall. But our kids need a lot